Man, today we're going to talk about the top mistakes I've made in my journey as an entrepreneur. Now, some of it is funny, at least to me. Looking back, some of it will be ridiculous, but I always like to share, some failures, mistakes, because that's how you learn. You don't learn from being successful all the time. And I always say, the path, you see certain company, the only path they have, or at least they share, it's only on the up and up. And the reality is totally different. But it's going to be interesting. I don't think I ever share. Now, I'll start from the early days because I started my first business when I was 20, 21. And I did sales. So for those who don't know, it was door-to-door sales. Very, very, I won't say popular, but very famous in the U.S., right? And to me, I remember like it was yesterday. I was in college, and they recruited us from university, and they told us, yeah, come in. This is how much you get, commission based. This is how much you get from the from the company on every sales and all those things. And at that time, we were selling water filtration system. And that was the early days of clean water issues and bottled water, and how water filtration was much better solution than bottled water. And it was common sense. And this is my first experience in sales. And I can tell you, in my head, this is a no-brainer. You save this much money compared to buying bottled water. It lasts you X amount of time. You don't have to deal with, you're not destroying the environment, so on and so forth. Anybody will join up, man. And I was already calculating the amount of money I was going to make. Let's just say that I didn't sell anything. And I worked for that company for over a year. Didn't sell nothing. And then I jump into this business where you invest money. It's a little bit like stock, but now really it's penny stocks. And this particular company promised return doing nothing. Young and dumb, man. This was by far the dumbest mistakes I made. Because I actually believe that you can sit and make money. Technically you can, but it has to be traditional stocks and all those things. And even then, you have to do your homework, pay attention. Invested not that much money. I think I invested $1,500. And all gone. Ended up being a scam and taught me a very, very valuable lesson. You need to know where your money is going. You need to do your due diligence. You can't just sit around and believe what somebody's telling you. And if it's too easy, you need to be aware that there's no such thing as making easy money. And so that was a wrap. Lost a little bit of money. Got into real estate. Now that real estate was very interesting. That was before the crash, 2 years before the crash. I had I was buying property, flipping, buying property. The first year and a half was, man, great. I started getting greedy. I was buying multiple homes. At the peak, I had 4 homes on books. And at that time, they were throwing credits like nothing. You could buy a house, 100% mortgage, 100% loan, no down payment, so on and so forth. And what was very interesting was money was so easy to get from the bank, especially if you had good credit. And I'm talking about from the U.S. For those who are answering, that cannot be on the continent. Well, no, it was on the U.S. Market. So it was crazy. Bank was just giving up money, and we're just applying, buying and flipping, and holding, because value of a house was doubling almost every 6 months. And then the crash happened, the 2008 crash, right? And I was like, no, let's hold on. Let's hold. And then less sales and all those things. Let me put it this way. I lost pretty much most of the home. I sold one at a high profit, but I lost around $250,000 that I owed to the bank that I had to repay, renegotiate refinance, so on and so forth. That was by far my biggest failure when it comes to value of the money. And it almost crushed me. Thank God in parallel I was running a trucking company. And for those who don't know, man, trucking is recession proof. At least my experience was that. So that kind of saved me a lot. I was basically able to offset, and some of the property went to foreclosure, but the sale kind of, the bank accepted the amount they sold it for. And there was other, Obama came up with a ruling where, loan forgiveness, so on and so forth. So I got very, very lucky, but that was my biggest failure. Greed, man, greed. When you have an opportunity, just get that opportunity if you're in the buying, selling business or flipping business. Don't wait. Oh, you can get more, Yeah, you can always get more, but you can also lose it all if you don't be careful. And that by far, that's the experience that really woke me up and understood that, if you have an opportunity to sell, just do it. And my last biggest top mistake was the first 2 years in trucking. I'll talk a little bit about it on the book, on my book. And mistakes I always make is always get into business. Well, at least back then. I always get into business without doing no research, without learning anything, just because I heard or saw or read something about it, about high return. I was so focused on the return-wise, I never really paid attention that every business is a process. And there's no business where you can make quick money. It does not exist. It's a process. You have to learn the process if it's an industry you don't have any experience on. And if it's really technical, it's always good to bring somebody on board that has the expertise you need. Well, that was never me. My strategy was always jump and figure out how to swim as you go, right? It's a very expensive strategy. So in trucking, I made the big mistake, didn't learn the game, didn't learn about the different expenses, didn't learn about how the others are making the most profitable companies in trucking, how they make their money and all those things. And basically when I got started, I lost money for 2 years. I lost a little bit over 100,000 of my own money over 2 years, trying to make mistakes after mistakes. But I didn't quit. Until when I finally got tired of making all those mistakes, I sat down and started researching and learning what the top trucking company are doing and how they're making most of their revenue, and who are the most profitable trucking company and what are their business model. And when I started doing that and I adopted their model, I was profitable in 6 months. Trucking was by far the best business I did. Why? Because it was like, it was, the cash flow was always ongoing. Compared to the business now in tech, you have, development and all those things. Innovation is a long-term game. But trucking was very good on cash flow because you take an order, you ship, you deliver, boom, you can sell your invoice, get factoring, or if you don't, you get paid within 30 to 45 days. And if you don't own any asset, I finally learned, and when I got the model right, that was the best. But I made so many mistakes in between that almost got me closing that business. So those are the mistakes I learned, man. Those are the mistakes I've done and what I've learned through the process. But it's okay. You live and you learn. As long as you don't quit, as long as you know you're gonna, figure it out, as long as you know there's a way out or there's a solution to that problem, don't give up. Just keep going. You'll figure this out and you'll make it work. So that's the key thing. A lot of time we don't give us enough time to go through the process. And because we think, well, if it's not working now, it's never going to work. That's not true. You got to keep trying different things, keep testing different things. The other business, I didn't do that because I just hated it. I hated sales, man. I didn't mind rejection. Well, I did back then, but I don't mind rejection. I get rejection all the time on everything. But I hate customer sale because one of the things, and I'll end with this, one thing I learned about humans and people, they don't make logical decisions. Most people make emotional decisions. And most people are don't like salespeople, you know. So you either have to be aggressive, have techniques to really make the customer feel bad, so on and so forth. I didn't have time for that, man. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of getting cursed out. I'm tired. So most of the business that I quit and then pursue was mostly business I had no interest in. But the business I stuck in and really wanted to figure out, okay, I got to make this work. It's business that really was an interesting challenge, stuff that I could learn. And, okay, I was like, okay, if I can figure how to solve this issue and how to make this business profitable, I know it's going to help me for further, future businesses. All right, guys, comment, man. Put comment on some of your mistakes and failure you've experienced, man. It'll be interesting to see what you guys going through. All right, take care, man.